U.S. government, you cannot talk about democracy when you invaded the island of Puerto Rico in 1898.
You can't talk about democracy when right now Congress is trying to impose an oversight board without involving the people of Puerto Rico.
You cannot talk about democracy when 3.4 million American citizens in Puerto Rico still cannot vote for their president.
You can talk about democracy when almost 1 million Puerto Ricans voted to reject their current status, and yet you have taken no action.
You can't talk about democracy when you encourage democracy in Iraq and around the world and still hold the last colony, Puerto Rico.
You can't talk about democracy when you deny Puerto Rico a government of the people, by the people, for the people.
You can talk about democracy when you have denied Puerto Rico the rightful representation in the U.S. Congress.
You can talk about democracy as long as you kept the oldest colony in the world.
You can talk about democracy when on a monthly basis you divide 1,000 families in Puerto Rico by your inaction.
You can't talk about democracy when you deny our right for self-determination as well established by the United Nations.
You cannot talk about democracy when we have been subjected for more than 118 years to colonialism and unequal treatment. This is just not fair.
You can't talk about democracy when in 1953 you lied to the UN, stating that our territorial government had self-determination.
You can talk about democracy when you deny equal opportunities and benefits to all children and elderly residents in Puerto Rico.
You can talk about democracy when you deny your own history and principle against European colonialism.
You can't talk about democracy when you're trying to establish new democratic relationships with Cuba while holding Puerto Rico as a U.S. colony.
U.S. government, until you solve the territorial status of Puerto Rico, you cannot talk about democracy.